everyone, it's Molly from Throne of Grace. And guess what? It's that time, back to school season. Now, here in California, a lot of our students still have several weeks of summer vacation left. But I was just on the East Coast and so sad to see that the back to school aisles in the stores there were already wiped out. So for most of you, back to school season is in full swing, and for the rest of us, it will be here shortly. Now, most of you have probably seen the classic Staples back to school commercial set to the tune of the Christmas jingle. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And then some of you, like the dad in those commercials, can't wait for school to be back in session. And for others, back to school comes with a sense of dread and sorrow of another summer gone. Can you tell which side I'm on? But even for those of you who love the excitement of a new school year, and I will admit as a teacher, there's a lot to love about it, but still, no matter how you slice it, school brings a lot of crazy. So today I've invited a special guest to help me share with you 5 tips for back to school success. Let me begin by introducing you to my mom, Sally. She's here with us today, and many of you probably already know her, or you know somebody who knows her, because she's just that kind of lady. We can't go anywhere without her running into 5 people she knows. So if you don't know her, you should, because she's the best.
Thank you.
So welcome, Mom.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into our tips. So Mom, you just jump in whenever you've got some wise words to share. So our first tip is, trust that the Lord is sovereign over your child's class placements. All right, so it's so tempting for us as moms to worry and fret when we think our child has not been placed in the right class or with the right classmates. But we need to remember that God loves and cares about the well-being of our children far more than we do. Mm-hmm. He is working for their good, and we need to trust His purposes. I know you've had some experience with this, right, Mom?
Well, as a mom and as a teacher. As a mom, I never requested teachers for you girls because I felt like the Lord knew better than I did what kind of teacher you needed. And if there was a year that wasn't better than another year, that was okay, because my motto has always been, if nobody dies, we can fix it. But as a teacher, I also knew that God would give me who I needed and who needed me.
Right. And, you know, often, like you said, that what seems like it's going to be a terrible situation ends up being a great situation. Mm-hmm. God has His purpose in that. He uses tough teachers to, teach us important life lessons. And sometimes we don't exactly connect in the same ways with previous teachers. But we don't get to choose our bosses as we get to be adults. We don't choose our coworkers or even our neighbors, right? So it's important that we grow through those kinds of learning experiences, and God can use that to increase our faith, right?
God is so faithful with our children to make sure that they learn what they need to learn. And honestly, I've never met a teacher yet that went into teaching to destroy children. All of them go because they have a feeling that this is a passion, they love kids, and so they all have a desire to be the best teacher for your kid.
For sure. Okay, so now, before the class lists go up, begin praying that God would place your children in just the right environment to grow them His way, and then trust the work He does. It's easy to look at the human beings making those class lists and say they've made a mistake, but Proverbs 21:1 says, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Like the rivers of water, He turns it wherever He wishes." And that applies to principals and superintendents too, right?
Yeah.
All right, now as little as aside, I will say there are times when we do need to speak up and be an advocate for our children, and God can use you in those situations as well. But let our first response to prayerfully remember God sees the big picture. So again, number 1 is trust the Lord is sovereign over your child's class placements. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Pray for your teachers.
Please.
As a teacher myself, let me tell you, teachers have a very hard job to do, and it's only getting harder. The academic, emotional, and social needs of students these days is way beyond what I was dealing with even 20 years ago when I started teaching. And Mom, you've taught for 26 years, so you've seen it. It's crazy. So not to mention all the pressures that teachers face with keeping up with ever-changing curriculum, providing support to the parents too, who, let's be honest, they can be as needy as the students sometimes. So giving teachers your faithful prayers is the absolute best gift that you can give them. So we have this set, it was actually one of our first sets we created kind of at the beginning, how to pray for your students and how to pray for your teachers. So they're companion sets, you can buy them separately or together, but this one has some great prayers just to remind you to be praying for those teachers throughout the school year.
We had a former pastor who once said, if you want a new pastor, pray for the one you've got. And I think that applies to teachers. If you're thinking you want a new teacher, pray for the teacher you've got. She needs it, and that will help. If her heart needs changing, that's the best way to do it.
That's right. Now, as we're remembering our teachers in prayer, it's also easier to give them the grace we all need. So they are people too, and after spending all day with your child and a whole classroom of others, they still have to go home and face the challenges they have there with their families and just like all of us. So one of the practical ways we can give teachers grace is by not panicking when our child comes home with some sketchy news from the day. Now, my mom, you used to share something.
I used to say to parents, I'll believe half of what they say about you if you'll believe half of what they say about me. Because I used to hear some crazy stories from kids about what happened at home.
Right. So before we jump to conclusions, we need to go directly to the teacher. Don't go to another parent or even to the principal first. First, go to your teacher and figure out the story and just pray for them. And whether or not they're believers, letting them know that you're praying for them would be such an encouragement to them. So now we're going to move on to back to school survival tip number 3. Get involved in praying with other moms for your children and their school. So whether your kids attend public school, private school, even homeschooled, gathering with other moms to pray specifically for the needs of the students, staff, and administration is such a blessing.
Yes.
Boy, do our schools need our prayers today, don't they? And there are several ways you can do this. Now, most schools have groups that are part of an international prayer organization called Moms in Prayer. So you can go to momsinprayer.org and find out if your school has a group and how you can get involved. If your school doesn't have a prayer group, start your own. It doesn't have to be an official Moms in Prayer group, and it can be super casual. Just pull a few moms aside after drop-off or before pickup at the end of the day, and just spend 5 minutes praying together. And then start inviting others to join you.
Last year, I went with a friend and we walked to high schools. That was one where my grandson was going to be going and where her grandson was going. And we spent 2 Sundays walking around the outside of those campuses praying for the teachers and the students and everybody.
And how neat to do that as grandparents.
Yes.
As grandparents, we need your prayers too. So that's fantastic. I love that you did that. Now, when my kids started at a Christian school, I was really surprised to find that we didn't have a prayer group already there. So several moms and I did a little research. We talked to the administration, and now we have an amazing group of parents that meet twice a month on campus to pray. And it was honestly been one of the biggest blessings of these past few years to be a part of that group. So I highly recommend that. I've learned a lot through the process. So if it's something you are interested in hearing more about or possibly starting at your school, contact me and I'd love to help with that. So however you do it, however awkward it feels at first, gather with others at your school, pray together. You'll not only bless your school, but you will find the support of other moms to be an invaluable way to survive the school age years. Anything else you want to share on that? Or?
No, I just think it's so important for mothers of school-age kids to band together and pray for their kids all the way through school.
All the way through. So let's move on to tip number 4. This is use the travel time to and from school to connect with your kids. And I'm going to read God's word from Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 18 through 21. It says, "Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, talking about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children may be many in the land that the Lord swore to give your forefathers, as many as the days that the heavens are above the earth." So I love that encouragement God has given us, and really command to, we need to teach our children scriptural truths.
Even at a Christian school.
Absolutely.
You can't assume that your children are going to be learning about the Lord in a way that's life-changing at Christian school. You are the primary person responsible for that. So that is your job. Don't give it up to anybody, Sunday school teachers or Christian school teachers.
That's right.
It's your job.
Okay, now one other thing I want to say about that. I don't know about you, but I usually find summer ends up being way busier than I envisioned. There are camps and sleepovers and parties and lots of church events. And though the intent is to have all this family time, it doesn't always pan out that way. So back to school can be a great time to pull the family in closer, and as we get a little more structured and in our routines, we can reconnect. So one of the best times to do that, I think, is when we have a captive audience on the way to school. And for us, that's in the car. But if you are someone who walks to school with your kids, that can be done too. So I want to share with you a few of my favorite things that the Garibaldis do. Now, the first one might seem obvious, but it doesn't need to be said, I think, and that's that you need to ask your kids good questions.
Oh my gosh, asking the proper question is the most important thing to do in order to get the information you want from your kids. Because if you just say, "How was your day?" or "What did you do today?" That was a common one. Parents said, "What'd you do? What'd you learn at school?" The answer is always nothing. And I always would say, "I didn't send you to school to learn nothing today." So you have to come up with good questions that will trigger a response other than yes or no.
Right, yeah. Avoid the yes or no questions and the ones that have kind of, possibly vague answers.
Yes.
So be specific. This is something that's been on my heart for a while now. I've actually been working on a set of prayer cards that I hope to have available very soon that will offer simple questions, little prompts to ask your kids. It will also kind of connect that with scripture so that you can turn ordinary conversations into scriptural encouragement for your kids. So I will let you know when that becomes available. But just to give you an idea, it could be things like you can ask the kids as you're going on the way to school, how would you like me to pray for you today? Or who do you think you could try to encourage today? And then on the way home, you can follow up with, did you notice someone that needed encouragement today? Or even just asking questions like, what was the funniest thing that happened in school today? Or
I always ask, who got in trouble today? Because that's always that's a great conversation all the time.
Yes, when you get the
You'll notice it was never your child.
Right, but you get the scoop on what's going on, right? So anyway, I'll let you know when that resource is available, but definitely ask some good questions. Another great way to make use of the travel time is having shared listening experiences. And by that, I mean listening to family radio dramas or books on CD or digital downloads. Now, you may not know that local libraries, they carry all kinds of great literature on CD that can be checked out for free. We've definitely taken advantage of that over the years, listening to great books like the Boxcar Children's series, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, The K. More recently, we've been listening to the Treasure Hunter series, a current series. But hands down, our favorite thing to listen to together is Focus on the Family's Adventures in Odyssey program. Now, this is an evangelical Christian series. It's been broadcasting for over 30 years. So it's been going on a long time, since I was a kid. You can hear it on your local radio currently, but you can also purchase it on CD, or you can download it from their website, which I highly recommend purchasing it or having it, because then you can start at the beginning of the series and hear all the way through, and that's what we've been doing. Because it is an ongoing drama and comedy. Like I said, it's got a lot of funny things too.
Well, and it spans through a lot of ages, because your kids have been listening to this since they were babies.
Yes, yeah.
And even now at almost 14 and almost 12, they still look forward to it.
Yeah. And I enjoy it. I mean, I love it. So
they're funny.
They are very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, these are not always issues that can be resolved in 30 minutes. So take the time to really look at everyday situations and bring biblical wisdom into them, and then provide some really fun, imaginative adventures that the characters, take into different places and times in history. So that's fun too. So that's a great recommendation. And if you're not someone who drives in the car to school, you can look into it for family road trips. It's great for that too. So one last thought about using the travel time to school well. I know many families that use that time to pray together, and it's a great way to begin or end a school day, and can really help everyone get the day or the evening off to the right start.
That's a great idea. Of course, the driver has to be praying with their eyes open.
Yes, with their eyes open.
But that's always a great way of modeling for your children the importance of prayer.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so finally, my last tip for back to school survival, and this one goes for any time of year. Number 5, don't overcommit.
Oh, please. Biggest mistake mothers make.
Yeah, I think we especially fall prey to this overcommitment thing as the new school year starts. It's so tempting. There's so many different options to get the kids plugged into sports and scouts and just different opportunities that come our way in the fall. And then as moms, we have a lot of pull on our time and our attention too, with new Bible studies that are starting, new committees form, and don't forget all those little blanks that need to be filled in, the teachers' volunteer signups. So that sense of guilt, wanting to help out. But your no may be an opportunity for a yes for someone else.
This is so important. When I was a young mother, a woman helped me overcome the guilt of saying no. I used to have a helicopter hand every time, or helium hand, excuse me. Every time somebody would say there was need, my hand would go up automatically, because I always felt guilty about the need. And she told me the need is not necessarily the call.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a need, but you may not be the one called to fill that need. Right. And if you take that need from someone else, it's a problem. That person who was called by God, you now stepped in place. And so don't feel guilty. If you're not going to fill that need, God will call someone else to do it.
Absolutely. Okay, now along these lines, I think it's really important you discuss your commitments as a family and get everyone's buy-in. In general, for us, we've had a family rule over the years that we have one kid in a sport per season, and the kids have to take turns. And for us, that's been both a time consideration and a financial decision. We just can't afford the time or money to have the kids doing multiple sports or activities at once. And I have 2 kids, so I'm really not sure how you all do it with, more than that. But as the kids have gotten older, it's harder to stick to that. So there have been times when we've had to kind of break that rule. Last fall, we actually had 2 kids both playing soccer, which was crazy. But when we do, we have to get the kids buy-in, and we talk about how this is going to be a family decision, and there's going to be trade-offs. For example, might mean that, like with last fall, we said there's going to be no play dates this fall outside of school. We are going to be doing soccer practices, and if there is a day of the week where we don't have a soccer practice, then we're coming home to do homework. Also had to get their help and buy-in with dinner prep. Like this means we're going to be taking dinner on the go, packing up some dinners. You're not going to be able to say yes to every party on the weekends because you're going to be committed to soccer. So I know commitment is a huge thing for you, you've always
it was just so important to me to model commitment. If we signed up for anything, sometimes it was just story time at the library. We showed up every week, and some of our friends didn't go, and I would say, no, we're going because that woman has prepared for us, and we're going to be there. We've committed to it, and we're going to do it. This is why commitment is so important. You can't overcommit. Less is more. There's a great pressure to commit your kids to multiple activities because all of your neighbors are doing it. It is so stressful on kids to be going from one activity to the next, and it really is not. I just don't believe it's God's way. The kids need to learn how to relax and be still. How are they going to know to be still and know that He is God if they're never still?
Right. Okay, so above all of this in this area, please be sure to pray through each of the opportunities that come your way and ask the Lord to help you. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Because like you said, less is more. You know, if we commit to a couple things but are committed to them, people can count on us. That's much better than committing to, a bunch of things that you can't stick with. It's just not possible. So, and as you said, the kids are watching and they're learning how to balance life by the choices you make for them and for the whole family. So
I was going to say one thing too. When you girls were younger, one of the ways I could know if something was for me was to ask my husband whether I should do it, because even if he wasn't seeking the Lord on that, the Lord always spoke through him. And when my husband said yes to something, I knew it was okay to do it. So if he had said no, I wouldn't take on a commitment.
Yes. So have your kids buy in, and most importantly, your husband's buy in, right? All right, so there you have it. 5 tips to help you get started for back to school survival and success. Thank you, Mom, for sharing your words of wisdom with us.
Thanks for having me.
Joining me today. It was fun. And we are by no means experts in surviving this crazy time of year. We do hope our experiences can bless you and your family. And we would love to have your thoughts and tips for how to go from surviving to thriving in the fall. So if you would please leave us your comments below. And if you have any questions about any of the tips that we've shared, feel free to contact us. We also would love for you to subscribe to our channel, and then you'll get informed whenever we have new content posted, so you can push that red subscribe button below. So thanks again, Mom, and happy back to school, everybody.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Be sure to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, and visit us on our website at throneofgrace.com to contact us through email or link directly to the Throne of Grace shop.